Do you miss those forgotten cold dishes no one makes anymore? These meals were once a comforting part of everyday life and gatherings. Why did we let them disappear? Cold molded shrimp and celery salad was a staple of mid-century buffet tables, loved for its elegant appearance and refreshing flavor. Shrimp and crisp celery were mixed into a creamy mayonnaise or sometimes set in a delicate gelatin mold that gave it a signature wobbly shape. This dish was often formed into elaborate shapes using ring molds or decorative dishes to impress guests at gatherings and parties. The cool, creamy texture was a perfect contrast to the warm dishes that typically accompanied it, making it a favorite during summer months and holiday events. It showcased the era's fascination with molded foods and the creative ways gelatin was used to elevate simple ingredients into sophisticated presentations. Though this dish has largely vanished from modern menus, it remains a vivid example of how households once balanced practicality with presentation in their cold dishes. The shrimp brought a touch of luxury, while the celery added crunch and freshness, making every bite interesting. Its disappearance reflects changing tastes and the decline of gelatin-based salads in contemporary cuisine, but those who remember it often speak fondly of its charm and nostalgic appeal. Gelatin salad with fruit and marshmallows was a vibrant and playful dish often found at potlucks and family dinners in the 1950s and 1960s. Combining sweet canned fruit cocktail with fluffy marshmallows suspended in brightly colored flavored gelatin, it offered a unique texture and visual appeal. This salad was served cold, wobbly, and slightly translucent, catching the eye on any buffet table. The mix of tart fruit juices with the sweetness of marshmallows created a taste that was both refreshing and indulgent. It was easy to prepare with pantry staples, which made it a popular choice for hosts looking to make an impressive yet affordable dish. Beyond its flavor, the dish symbolized the era's love for gelatin-based creations and the convenience they provided in mid-century American kitchens. Children especially loved this salad for its sweet, candy-like qualities, turning it into a dessert-like side. Today, gelatin salads like this are often viewed as quaint or kitschy, but they remain a nostalgic reminder of family gatherings and simpler times when gelatin was an innovative way to bring color and excitement to meals. Cold curried egg and potato salad took the traditional egg and potato salad and gave it an exotic twist by adding curry spices to the mayonnaise dressing. This flavorful variation became popular during the mid-20th century when global spices were slowly becoming more common in American pantries. Hard-boiled eggs and tender potatoes were combined with a creamy, slightly spicy sauce that brought warmth and complexity to a familiar dish. The curry added a golden hue and aromatic depth that made the salad stand out at potlucks and summer barbecues. It was a dish that bridged the gap between comfort food and emerging culinary trends, offering a little adventure without straying too far from the familiar. This salad was typically served chilled, making it a refreshing choice for warm weather dining. While once a popular side, it gradually fell out of favor as tastes shifted towards fresher, lighter salads and fewer mayonnaise-heavy dishes. Still, this dish reflects a time when American cooks were experimenting with new flavors, embracing mild spices, and elevating classic recipes with simple yet impactful changes. Lobster Newburg salad was once the height of luxury in cold appetizers, featuring tender lobster chunks mixed with a rich mayonnaise-based dressing. Named after the original hot lobster Newburg dish from the late 19th century, this chilled version transformed the decadent seafood classic into a celebratory salad. Often served at banquets and elegant dinners, it combined lobster meat with subtle seasonings and a creamy, tangy sauce that balanced the sweetness of the shellfish. The dish was typically garnished with fresh herbs or celery for crunch and presented in chilled bowls or molded shapes, showcasing the mid-century passion for beautiful food displays. Although lobster is still associated with fine dining, the cold lobster Newburg salad has mostly disappeared from menus, replaced by lighter seafood salads or simpler dishes. Its decline corresponds with changing dietary preferences and the rising cost of lobster. Nevertheless, this salad remains an emblem of a time when indulgence and artistry in cold dishes were celebrated, reflecting the aspirational nature of mid-century American entertaining. Ham and cheese roll-ups with cream cheese were a popular finger food at cocktail parties and casual gatherings in the 1950s and 1960s. Sliced deli ham was spread with smooth cream cheese and layered with slices of mild cheese before being rolled tightly into pinwheel shapes. These rolls were then sliced into bite-sized pieces that were easy to eat and visually appealing, making them a convenient appetizer or snack. The combination of salty ham, creamy cheese, and tangy cream cheese created a satisfying flavor contrast that pleased many palates. They were often garnished with a sprinkle of paprika or fresh herbs for added color. This dish was part of a larger trend of simple, no-cook party foods that could be quickly assembled but still looked elegant on a platter. Over time, these roll-ups have become less common, giving way to fresher, lighter options in modern entertaining. Still, their nostalgic charm lives on in family recipes and vintage cookbooks. Seafood salad with shrimp and crab was a chilled blend of seafood chunks tossed in a tangy mayonnaise or vinaigrette dressing, a showstopper at mid-century cocktail parties. This salad combined sweet shrimp, delicate crab meat, and sometimes other seafood like scallops or imitation crab for variety. It was often seasoned with celery, onions, and a splash of lemon juice to brighten the flavors and provide textural contrast. The salad was served cold, usually on lettuce leaves or in chilled glass bowls to highlight the fresh pink seafood pieces. This dish captured the era's love for seafood in elegant but easy-to-prepare forms that suited formal occasions or holiday meals. As tastes shifted away from mayonnaise-heavy salads and towards lighter fare, this classic seafood salad fell out of favor. However, it remains a beloved example of vintage American entertaining and the mid-century passion for combining indulgence with convenience. Cucumber and sour cream salad was a refreshing summer side dish that showcased thinly sliced cucumbers in a creamy sour cream and dill dressing. This cool salad was a favorite in mid-century America for its lightness and ease of preparation during hot months. The cucumbers were peeled or sliced with skins on depending on preference, then combined with a mixture of sour cream, fresh or dried dill, salt, and sometimes a touch of vinegar for brightness. It was typically served chilled and often accompanied barbecues, picnics, or family dinners. The salad's popularity waned with the rise of vinegar-based dressings and more complex salads, but remains a classic example of simple, fresh flavors paired with creamy textures. Its gentle balance of cool cucumbers and tangy cream made it a comforting and palate-cleansing dish in an era fond of dairy-based sides. Jellied chicken salad was a savory cold dish featuring cooked chicken pieces and vegetables suspended in flavored gelatin, a hallmark of mid-20th century presentation style. This salad showcased the era's fascination with molded foods, combining texture and visual appeal in one dish. Vegetables such as celery, peas, and pimentos added color and crunch within the translucent jelly, which was often lightly seasoned with herbs or broth to enhance the taste. The dish was served chilled, usually sliced from a mold or formed ring, making it a centerpiece at holiday buffets and potlucks. Jellied salads like this one have almost completely disappeared from contemporary tables, but they offer a window into the culinary creativity of the time when gelatin was used beyond desserts. This salad combined practicality and showmanship, transforming leftover or simple ingredients into something festive and elegant. Cold grape salad with cream cheese and pecans was a sweet and savory dish featuring fresh grapes coated in a creamy dressing and topped with crunchy toasted pecans. This salad brought together the natural juiciness of grapes with the richness of cream cheese mixed with sugar and sometimes a hint of vanilla or lemon. The contrast of soft, sweet fruit with the crunchy nuts created a delightful texture that made it popular for family gatherings and potlucks. Typically served chilled, it was an easy-to-assemble recipe that relied on simple ingredients but delivered satisfying flavor. The salad's combination of fruit, dairy, and nuts reflected the era's interest in mixing sweet and savory components in cold dishes. Although less common today, this grape salad is remembered fondly as a comforting and easy-to-make dish from the past. Mock crab salad, made from surimi or imitation crab, was a budget-friendly seafood alternative popular in the 1950s and beyond. This cold salad combined shredded imitation crab meat with mayonnaise, celery, and seasonings to create a creamy and flavorful dish that mimicked more expensive crab salads. It was a practical solution during times when fresh seafood was costly or scarce, making it accessible to a wider range of households. Often served on lettuce, in sandwiches, or as a dip, the salad was a versatile addition to mid-century menus. This dish also reflects the ingenuity of cooks who sought to replicate luxurious flavors using affordable and readily available ingredients. Although surimi is still used today, the classic cold mock crab salad as a molded or mixed salad has become less common, overshadowed by fresher or lighter seafood options. Gelatin vegetable salad, often known as French salad, was a colorful celebration of mid-century culinary creativity that featured a variety of vibrant vegetables suspended in clear, savory gelatin. This dish was carefully assembled by layering chopped vegetables like carrots, peas, green beans, and sometimes pimentos or bell peppers, all set within a transparent gelatin that gleamed under buffet lights. Served cold, it was a popular decorative side at formal dinners and holiday gatherings, showcasing both the cook's skill and the era's love for molded, visually impressive foods. The gelatin provided a firm, slightly springy texture that contrasted nicely with the crispness of the fresh vegetables. While gelatin salads like this may seem unusual to modern palates, they represented a practical way to combine fresh produce with the preservation benefits of gelatin, which kept the dish stable for serving. Over time, the gelatin vegetable salad fell out of favor as tastes shifted towards lighter and less processed options. However, this salad remains a vivid reminder of a time when presentation was as important as flavor, reflecting the social importance of food and entertaining in mid-20th century America. Chicken salad with water chestnuts was a beloved classic that added a satisfying crunch to the creamy texture typically expected from traditional chicken salad. In this dish, shredded cooked chicken was mixed with mayonnaise, chopped celery, and the unexpected yet delightful addition of water chestnuts, which provided a crisp, refreshing contrast to the smooth, rich dressing. This combination made it popular as a sandwich filling or as a chilled salad served on lettuce at family gatherings and potlucks. The water chestnuts, often overlooked in today's recipes, were prized for their unique texture and subtle sweetness, which helped brighten the dish and add variety to the mouthfeel. Chicken salad itself was a versatile and economical choice, making use of leftover poultry, but the inclusion of water chestnuts demonstrated the mid-century American cook's desire to elevate simple dishes with novel ingredients. Though it is less commonly made today, this salad stands as a testament to the creative spirit of the era, where mixing textures and flavors in cold dishes was a way to make meals more exciting without extra fuss. Cheese ball was a classic party staple in mid-century America. Known for its creamy texture and easy-to-share format, these cold molded cheese mixtures were typically made by blending cream cheese with shredded cheddar or other flavorful cheeses, and then seasoning with herbs, spices, and sometimes nuts or chopped vegetables. The mixture was formed into balls or logs, then coated in chopped nuts, parsley, or bacon bits, creating an eye-catching appetizer that guests could spread on crackers or bread. Cheese balls were prized for their rich, savory flavor and convenience, as they could be prepared ahead of time and refrigerated until ready to serve. This appetizer was a fixture at holiday parties, office gatherings, and potlucks, embodying the era's penchant for finger foods that combine taste with social ease. While cheese balls remain a nostalgic favorite for some, they have declined in popularity due to changing dietary preferences and the desire for fresher, less processed appetizers. Nevertheless, cheese balls represent a distinctive aspect of American entertaining culture from the mid-1900s. Peanut butter salad with pineapple and marshmallows was a surprising and sweet concoction that embodied the mid-century American tendency to experiment with unexpected flavor combinations. This salad mixed creamy peanut butter with chunks of canned pineapple and fluffy marshmallows, often bound together with whipped cream or mayonnaise to create a rich and indulgent dessert salad. The result was a dish that balanced salty, sweet, and fruity notes in a soft, airy texture. This salad was frequently served at family potlucks, church gatherings, and holiday meals, where its unusual blend of ingredients could delight or bewilder guests. Reflecting the post-war era's love for convenience foods and canned goods, it made use of pantry staples to create a dessert that required no baking or complicated preparation. Though it has largely fallen out of favor today, peanut butter salad with pineapple and marshmallows remains a fascinating snapshot of culinary creativity and the quirky tastes of a bygone era. Cold marinated beet salad was a bright and tangy dish that highlighted the vibrant color and earthy flavor of beets, which were a popular vegetable in mid-century American cooking. This salad involved thinly sliced or diced cooked beets marinated in a mixture of vinegar, sugar, and spices such as cloves or allspice, giving it a sweet-sour profile that complemented a variety of meals. Served chilled, it was a common side dish at holiday dinners, potlucks, and community suppers, appreciated both for its flavor and striking appearance. The marinade helped preserve the beets and infused them with a pleasant zing that balanced their natural sweetness. This salad also fit well with the era's love of pickled and preserved foods, which were practical and flavorful options before widespread refrigeration and fresh produce availability. Though it is less common in modern American households, cold marinated beet salad remains a nostalgic favorite for those who grew up with its distinctive taste and cheerful color on the dinner table. Cold pickled shrimp cocktail was a flavorful twist on the classic shrimp cocktail, featuring shrimp served chilled in a tangy, spiced pickled sauce rather than the usual horseradish and tomato-based condiments. This variation was popular in mid-century America as a refreshing appetizer, especially at cocktail parties and holiday gatherings where unique presentations were prized. The shrimp were often marinated in a vinegar-based brine infused with spices like mustard seed, celery seed, and cayenne pepper, giving them a zesty, slightly sharp flavor that contrasted beautifully with their natural sweetness. Served cold, it was an easy-to-prepare dish that could be made ahead of time and displayed attractively in glass bowls or cocktail glasses. Though the classic shrimp cocktail remains popular, the pickled shrimp version has largely faded from contemporary menus, reflecting broader changes in American tastes away from pickled and gelatinous appetizers. Nonetheless, this dish captures a moment in culinary history when innovative cold seafood preparations were central to social dining and entertaining. Italian antipasto salad was a colorful and hearty cold dish that combined an assortment of cured meats, cheeses, pickled vegetables, and olives, dressed lightly to enhance their flavors. Popular at mid-century American dinners influenced by Italian cuisine, this salad offered a balance of salty, tangy, and savory tastes in a chilled format ideal for warm weather meals or as a starter. Typical ingredients included sliced salami, pepperoni, provolone cheese, marinated artichokes, roasted red peppers, and a mix of olives, all tossed together and drizzled with olive oil and vinegar or a simple Italian dressing. This salad reflected the growing influence of Italian-American culture on American cooking and the desire for dishes that were both flavorful and easy to prepare. Served cold, it became a popular choice for family dinners, gatherings, and holiday meals where variety and bold tastes were appreciated. While antipasto salads continue in various forms today, the mid-century versions with their heavy emphasis on pickled vegetables and rich meats remain a distinct culinary tradition that evokes nostalgia for many. Cold potato salad with vinegar and bacon was a tangy alternative to the more commonly known creamy mayonnaise-based potato salads, offering a sharper, smoky flavor profile. In this version, cooked potatoes were tossed with a dressing made from vinegar, often apple cider or white vinegar, mustard, and a generous amount of crisp fried bacon pieces. The salad was typically served chilled, making it a perfect accompaniment to barbecues, picnics, and summer gatherings in mid-20th century America. This style of potato salad was especially popular in certain regions and communities that preferred a less heavy, more piquant side dish. The vinegar-based dressing cut through the richness of the bacon and added brightness to the potatoes, providing a satisfying balance. Although creamy potato salads have become more prevalent, the vinegar and bacon version holds a special place in traditional recipes and remains a favorite for those seeking bold, old-fashioned flavors that stand apart from modern trends. Cold molded tuna salad ring was a distinctive retro dish that showcased tuna mixed with gelatin and mayonnaise, molded into a decorative ring shape that was both eye-catching and delicious. This salad was a common sight on buffet tables and holiday dinners in mid-century America, where molded salads were a symbol of festive presentation and culinary skill. The tuna was combined with mayonnaise, diced celery, and sometimes chopped onions or pickles, then mixed with gelatin to help it hold its shape once chilled. Served sliced with crackers or bread, the salad ring offered a convenient and elegant way to enjoy a protein-rich dish cold. The gelatin gave the salad a firm texture that contrasted with the creaminess of the mayo and the flakiness of the tuna. Over time, molded salads like this one fell out of favor as tastes shifted toward fresher, lighter dishes. But the cold molded tuna salad ring remains a memorable example of mid-century food artistry and practicality. Fruit salad with mayonnaise and coconut was a sweet, creamy dish combining mixed canned fruits with mayonnaise and shredded coconut, a dessert salad that enjoyed popularity in mid-20th century America. This salad often included canned pineapple, peaches, pears, and cherries mixed into a mayonnaise-based dressing that provided richness and moisture. The addition of shredded coconut brought a tropical flavor and chewy texture that complemented the soft fruit pieces. Served chilled, this salad was a common feature at potlucks, family gatherings, and holiday meals where it provided a sweet but simple dessert option. It reflected the post-war fascination with convenience foods and canned goods, which were staples in American kitchens. Though it may seem unusual to modern tastes, fruit salad with mayonnaise and coconut was a comforting and affordable way to finish a meal. Its decline in popularity mirrors changing attitudes toward creamy fruit salads, but for many, it remains a nostalgic reminder of home cooking from a bygone era. Seaweed and cucumber salad with sesame dressing brought a refreshing, light touch to mid-century American tables, inspired by the increasing interest in Japanese cuisine during that era. This chilled salad combined thin slices of cool cucumber with tender seaweed, often wakame, tossed in a nutty sesame dressing made with toasted sesame seeds, oil, and vinegar. The flavors were subtle yet distinctive, offering a delicate balance of freshness and earthiness. This dish found popularity among those seeking lighter, healthier options amidst the heavier traditional fare of the time. It was commonly served at summer dinners, picnics, or as an elegant side at formal gatherings. The use of seaweed introduced Americans to an ingredient that was both exotic and nutritious, reflecting the growing culinary curiosity of the period. Though no longer a widespread staple, this salad remains a charming example of how mid-century cooks embraced international influences and experimented with new textures and flavors in cold dishes. Pickled egg and beet salad was a brightly colored, tangy dish that combined the sharpness of pickled hard-boiled eggs with the earthy sweetness of pickled beets. This cold salad was a common feature at community potlucks, church socials, and family gatherings during the mid-20th century. The eggs and beets were typically marinated in a vinegar-based brine flavored with sugar, spices, and sometimes mustard seeds, which created a vivid ruby-red salad with a complex flavor profile. This combination was both visually striking and satisfying on the palate, offering a balance of acidity, sweetness, and texture. Pickled egg and beet salad was valued for its long shelf life and ability to be prepared ahead of time, making it a practical choice in an era when fresh produce was seasonal and refrigeration was less common. Although it has mostly disappeared from modern American tables, this salad remains a nostalgic reminder of resourceful home cooking and the enduring appeal of pickled foods. Cold-baked bean salad was a sweet and tangy dish that blended tender-baked beans with raw vegetables such as onions and bell peppers, served chilled for picnics and potlucks. This salad transformed the familiar warm comfort food into a refreshing cold side, perfect for summer gatherings and casual meals. The beans, often navy or kidney, were combined with a dressing made from vinegar, sugar, and mustard, giving the dish a bright, slightly spicy flavor. The crunch from the fresh vegetables added contrast to the soft beans, enhancing the overall texture. Cold baked bean salad was popular because it was easy to prepare, inexpensive, and packed with protein and fiber. It fit well into the mid-century American diet, which prized convenience and heartiness. Though less common today, this salad remains a nostalgic example of how classic ingredients were adapted into versatile, crowd-pleasing dishes for social occasions. Cold, Waldorf-style chicken salad was a hearty and creamy mix of shredded chicken, crisp apples, crunchy walnuts, and celery, all bound together in a mayonnaise dressing. This salad took inspiration from the original Waldorf salad, but added chicken to create a more filling dish suitable for lunches, picnics, and potluck dinners. The combination of sweet apples and crunchy nuts contrasted delightfully with the savory chicken and creamy dressing, offering a complex texture and balanced flavor. It was typically served chilled, often on a bed of lettuce or in sandwich form, making it versatile and popular in mid-20th century American homes. While once a beloved classic, the cold Waldorf-style chicken salad has faded from frequent use as modern palates shifted towards fresher and lighter fare. Still, it remains a comforting reminder of the era's fondness for rich, satisfying salads that could double as complete meals. Cold slaw with creamy poppy seed dressing was a popular side dish in mid-century cookbooks, featuring shredded cabbage tossed in a sweet, creamy sauce flavored with poppy seeds. This slaw offered a delicate sweetness balanced by the slight crunch of the cabbage and the subtle nuttiness of the poppy seeds. The dressing, typically made from mayonnaise, sugar, vinegar, and poppy seeds, coated the shredded vegetables in a smooth and flavorful mixture. Served chilled, this salad was a common accompaniment to barbecues, fried chicken dinners, and potlucks, providing a refreshing contrast to rich main dishes. Its easy preparation and bright flavor made it a favorite for home cooks seeking to impress guests with minimal effort. Though less prevalent today, this cold slaw reflects the mid-century American love for creamy, sweetened vegetable salads that added variety and color to the dinner table. Cold pickled vegetable relish tray was a colorful and tangy assortment of pickled cucumbers, cauliflower, and carrots served chilled as a palate cleanser or appetizer. This relish tray was often a staple at mid-20th century social events where its vibrant colors and sharp flavors provided a refreshing counterpoint to richer dishes. The vegetables were pickled in vinegar with spices like dill, mustard seed, and peppercorns, giving them a bright, tangy taste and satisfying crunch. Served in small dishes or on a platter, the relish tray invited guests to nibble between courses or alongside sandwiches and cold cuts. Its simplicity, shelf life, and bold flavors made it a practical and popular addition to party menus. Though modern entertaining favors more elaborate dips and spreads, the cold pickled vegetable relish tray remains a nostalgic emblem of mid-century American hospitality and resourcefulness in using preserved foods. Cold cream cheese and olive spread was a creamy and savory appetizer favored at cocktail parties and family gatherings in mid-20th century America. This spread combined softened cream cheese with chopped black or green olives, sometimes enhanced with garlic, onion powder, or herbs to deepen the flavor. Served chilled, it was typically presented on crackers, celery sticks, or sliced bread, making it an easy and elegant finger food. The contrast between the smooth cheese and briny olives created a satisfying balance that appealed to many palates. This dish was especially popular because it could be prepared ahead of time and required minimal effort while adding sophistication to a spread. Over time, as tastes evolved and new appetizer trends emerged, cold cream cheese and olive spread became less common. Yet, it remains a classic example of mid-century party fare, representing the era's taste for creamy, flavorful, and shareable dishes. Cold ham salad with pickles was a simple yet flavorful spread made by mixing finely minced cooked ham with chopped pickles and mayonnaise. This creamy mixture was a popular choice for sandwiches, dips, or crackers at family meals and social events during the mid-20th century. The tangy crunch of the pickles brightened the rich, savory flavor of the ham, while the mayonnaise provided smoothness and moisture. Easy to prepare and economical, this salad was a practical way to use leftover ham or deli cuts, stretching ingredients while delivering satisfying taste. Served chilled, it was especially refreshing during warmer months and became a staple in lunch boxes and potlucks. While less frequently made today, cold ham salad with pickles remains a nostalgic reminder of the resourcefulness and comfort food sensibilities that defined much of mid-century American home cooking. Chilled deviled ham spread was a creamy and slightly spicy cold spread made from processed ham blended with mayonnaise and seasonings, served at gatherings and parties. This spread had a smooth texture with a savory, tangy flavor profile, often enhanced with mustard, paprika, or Worcestershire sauce. It was popular as a quick appetizer served on crackers or as a sandwich filling, making it a convenient and crowd-pleasing choice for mid-century hosts. The deviled ham spread combined affordability with taste, turning leftover or canned ham into a festive dish. Its creamy consistency and flavorful kick made it stand out among other cold spreads of the time. Though it has become less common in modern kitchens, chilled deviled ham spread reflects the era's emphasis on easy-to-make, tasty party foods that brought people together. Chilled sweet corn salad with green pepper was a straightforward and refreshing vintage side dish featuring fresh or canned sweet corn tossed with crisp green bell peppers and a light dressing. This salad was served cold, making it a popular choice for summer meals, picnics, and casual family dinners in mid-century America. The sweetness of the corn paired well with the mild crunch and slight bitterness of the green pepper, creating a simple yet flavorful combination. Often dressed with a basic mixture of mayonnaise or vinaigrette, the salad required minimal preparation while adding color and texture to the plate. This dish highlighted the era's preference for uncomplicated, wholesome ingredients that could be quickly assembled. Though less common today, chilled sweet corn salad with green pepper remains a nostalgic reminder of the simple, satisfying vegetable sides that once graced many American tables. In Texas as well as New York, rice with raisins started becoming a really popular dish among the middle class and a breakfast that many children grew up on, especially in Indian American communities which were sparse at the time, but they were still there every other block or two. It was already customary to eat rice with milk and raisins there, so they brought it to America, and others took note. They were not the only ones to introduce it, though, since Chinese Americans also had their own take on the recipe that led to a more custard-like variant. When people could not afford to even eat rice pudding, they would make their rice and eat it with different kinds of nuts and raisins. The idea spread like wildfire in states like Alabama and Arkansas and the Midwest overall. In Michigan, it was a pretty common choice to use brown sugar and cinnamon whenever available. Brown Betties were one of the most classic American desserts to ever grace the table of an American kid. Something that might be seen as an old-fashioned dessert now, but used to be the next best thing after an apple pie. The flavors of a Brown Betty usually come from the spiced apples and other fruit-layered dishes, which are really buttery. The sugary breadcrumbs on top give it a crunch, which really adds to the entire vibe of the Brown Betty. You're looking for a warm, comforting dish that gets you in a nostalgic mood. Something you can sit down with and enjoy bite for bite, not rush through. It's an experience that you want to savor, like an empty, windy street as you walk down by and enjoy it. The Brown Betty was definitely something that would get you up out into the street, whether you were going to visit your grandma's for an authentic pie or a nearby bakery to reminisce about childhood days. The earliest recipes you can find are the ones from 1866, but those are more like Apple Betties than the ones we're talking about. Either way, this dish has definitely evolved alongside the population, and those who grew up with it will remember it fondly. In Texas as well as New York, rice with raisins started becoming a really popular dish among the middle class and a breakfast that many children grew up on, especially in Indian American communities which were sparse at the time, but they were still there every other block or two. It was already customary to eat rice with milk and raisins there, so they brought it to America, and others took note. They were not the only ones to introduce it, though, since Chinese Americans also had their own take on the recipe that led to a more custard-like variant. When people could not afford to even eat rice pudding, they would make their rice and eat it with different kinds of nuts and raisins. The idea spread like wildfire in states like Alabama and Arkansas and the Midwest overall. In Michigan, it was a pretty common choice to use brown sugar and cinnamon whenever available. Corned beef hash was a real silver lining for most people to look forward to. While corned beef itself came out of Ireland, it got to the US by the 19th century. But by the middle of, the 20th, it was obvious that this Irish invention had made a very American home for itself. Lots of big-name corporations also helped spread the hype around, typically Hormel's. They were the most affordable ones to get, and they were also the best quality for a few reasons. That shelf life was really nothing to scoff at, and it was a pretty hefty serving of beef in a very transportable can. Corned beef has such a rich history throughout the 20th century. In the 1960s, it was a fast way to get mashed potatoes, vegetables, and a protein on your plate and chow down. Just 20 to 30 years before that, it was actually one of the biggest things you needed to make sure you had because it was a big part of most people's very frugal daily diet. Potatoes had more use than just what was under all the layers. Once peeled, people would often fry the potato skins as a midday snack. Nothing would ever go to waste in homes back then, as you must have gathered by now. If they can make stuff out of sausage drippings and drain the fat from bacon to reuse, frying up some potato skins does not seem that out of the box at all. These fried skins were the perfect sidekick to potato pancakes, and the fact that the skins had a lot of health benefits made it all the more appealing. Things like this really helped to keep appetites in check, and that meant that the financial situation of the home would be calmer too. I don't need to tell you about how much America and the West in general love rice pudding. It's been something that's helped rural and urban populations get through some disastrously tough times, as well as a warm memory from childhood for a lot of people. One variation of the classic rice pudding was a Swedish rice ring, which would mostly be served at Christmas or a family get-together, but it eventually extended into daily use too. The dish first started off as something you'd only find in Scandinavian communities, and they'd really make heaps of the stuff. Enough to go around a big family of 6 or 8 with a bowl for each, and it makes sense too since it was made using some pretty average ingredients. Stuff like rice, milk, and cream were all you needed to get a Swedish rice ring going. The way it differed from normal rice pudding is in how the dish was originally always made with some kind of spice and topped with fruit or served alongside jam. Later on, when it expanded past the Scandinavian locale and got adopted into widespread use, people started using nutmeg and cinnamon as well. Some scant cookbooks might still recall the dish and the times where it was a great comfort meal, but a lot of the new ones don't really remember it anymore. Potatoes had more use than just what was under all the layers. Once peeled, people would often fry the potato skins as a midday snack. Nothing would ever go to waste in homes back then, as you must have gathered by now. If they can make stuff out of sausage drippings and drain the fat from bacon to reuse, frying up some potato skins does not seem that out of the box at all. These fried skins were the perfect sidekick to potato pancakes, and the fact that the skins had a lot of health benefits made it all the more appealing. Things like this really helped to keep appetites in check, and that meant that the financial situation of the home would be calmer too. Speaking of Southern cuisine creeping into other corners of the country, pimento cheese sandwiches are the quintessential Southie dish to talk about. As far as sandwiches go, they've pretty much nailed the formula. You have a taste you won't really forget thanks to the wonderful usage of pimento cheese, which is really just cheddar cheese mixed with small red peppers known as pimentos. Then, you have the sauces and vegetables. People like to keep it pretty simple, nothing too fancy. They'd throw in some red onions, or normal ones, and cloves of garlic. Some cayenne pepper and jalapenos would make it even spicier, but some people really preferred their cheese sandwiches that way. I know that at least more than a few people really enjoyed doing it this way up in the South. As far as sauces went, most people stuck to Worcestershire sauce for how it would really add some depth to the dish. The pimento cheese sandwich was one of the best things to come out of the South because it was such an affordable and delicious meal to make. Pimento cheese wasn't really the hardest thing to get. If you lived near any kind of grocery store, then there was a pretty good chance they had it. Most people in the South also either grew their own peppers or had dedicated shops and spots for where they'd go. Everyone had their own favorites when it came to where they'd like to get their vegetables, so depending on the harvest, you'd also get some pretty different tastes. Shortages were extremely common right up to before Pearl Harbor and especially after it. This is what led to things like Woolton pie dominating the mainstream, even though the dish would probably not see the light of day in normal circumstances. It is just that things like pies, loaves, pizzas, etc. had all become unattainable desires that were out of the public's grasp, more or less. Something had to be done, though, because not only did people need to be fed, they needed to be reminded of why eating good food is one of life's best joys. A hot, nice meal can do so much for a person's soul in times of conflict and uncertainty. And Woolton pies, despite being made entirely out of vegetables, not only gave your body the health boost it needed, but they felt comforting to share with your family. Comfort food in the 1940s could not be discussed without somebody bringing up American slumgullion. This was really hot in the Midwest and the South, mostly by its other name of goulash. The dish has been in recipes and cookbooks since at least 1913, and it would include ground beef simmered in a tomato sauce. It was a dish for nights that you really wanted to make matter, and it was also a great way to keep the nutrition and protein intake up. Think of it as like a kind of casserole, and if you have heard of it before, you should know the 1930s versions were a bit different. These ones involved no pasta or macaroni or cheese. Those would become staples of the dish much later on, and we have grandparents to thank for that too. We're going to go forward in time a bit, all the way to the beginning of what most people consider the late 20th century, where stuffed zucchini boats first started becoming something you would hear about regularly. You know, at bars, from your friends and colleagues, or your partners. They became really hot in the 60s and 70s when it felt like everyday people were trying another dish from a new country that hadn't really touched base in America yet. It was the first time people expanded their taste buds beyond the bacon, pancake, and hash brown breakfasts they were mostly used to. Plus, stuffed zucchini boats were really healthy. They were a lot better to eat than those aforementioned breakfasts. The best part was that you could really change up the fillings, so depending on what you wanted, you could have fully vegetarian zucchini boats or ones with ground beef stuffings. People say this is a part of Italian-American cooking, but a lot of Mediterranean cooking makes use of dishes similar to zucchini boats, like using stuffed peppers and vegetables like eggplants. We have had a pretty concerning lack of pies on the list so far, right? Let's fix that by going down memory lane, where we can find potato and onion pies, a delicacy that took America by storm, especially in the Midwest. Dried potatoes, sliced onions sprinkled with salt, pepper, and garlic, and you had a pretty killer pie. If by some luck the average household back then had some cheese to spare as well, then some serious fine dining would take place. Parmesan cheese was something Grandma incorporated much later when it became readily available again, but the authentic gritty potato and onion pie of the early 30s was an experience in and of itself. Some dishes just exude an air of comfort and homeliness, like being back in your childhood neighborhood at 7 a.m. on a really sunny day. This was definitely one of those. So most oatmeal meatloaf recipes use the oats as a side piece to, like, 2 pounds of lean ground beef, but that was obviously not what people were working with back then. Instead, the loaf was made entirely of layers of oatmeal, with sausages and bacon stuffed into it to give that meaty profile. Some dried onions and garlic meant that there was good enough reason to get the fine plates out, and there was always enough to go around too. Plus, grandmas really ran with the recipe right after the Depression ended and things started going back to normal. They would add things like tomato sauces and never spare the eggs or the flour. Probably why kids would love it so much since they went all out with it. But after going through a patch where this was a luxury, you cannot blame them for wanting to go the extra mile either. Are you a big fan of deli food? Deli meats, sandwiches, loaves, that kind of thing? Then one of the best parts of that kind of eating was the olive loaf. It was usually made with pork and beef plus chopped green olives, which is what it became known for. There was a small, brief period before convenience foods started taking over America, where processed meats were really becoming a thing, and this dish was a big part of that time, which arguably spanned all over the 1940s to the 1970s. It had an extremely loyal fan base too, as this was responsible for many deli counters still staying in business. These days, you could find retro stalls that still do a mean olive load, But the days where this was a commonplace item on the street and something you'd see your grandma cooking up are long gone in America's history. People definitely remember the flavors of the bologna, the ham loaves, and all the amazing dips they came with, though. Bread pudding has been a subject of much discussion in the history books of our developments with food. It would be a bit of an undersell to call it polarizing, since some people claim it is the ultimate comfort food, and there simply is not anything like it. Others think it is an affront to the concept of bread and pudding simultaneously, and fails to really capture the benefits of either. Still, the makeshift recipes from the 1930s were worth trying then, and are still worth trying now, as they put bread pudding on the map and helped it stay there. It was a great way to repurpose leftover stale bread, and despite its record as the poor man's pudding, it was a common recipe in church cookbooks even before the recession hit. All you had to do was get some boiling water, sugar, spices, and bread, and sure, it was not the most appealing or appetizing lump of dough to eat, but it got you through the day, and in times of extreme scarcity, who could ask for more? Speaking of casseroles, you might actually be surprised by all the different kinds you may find during this era. See, thanks to the Depression, people had really opened their ideas of what a casserole could be far more than ever before. As a result, you had things like macaroni and tomato casserole popping up, and this was a pretty good dish for several reasons too. Firstly, macaroni wasn't expensive at all, and neither was ground beef. It was a really convenient family recipe that you could hold for Sunday dinner or even play around with to switch things up. Maybe you used sausages instead of ground beef. Maybe this time, you put in bell peppers, or topped it with breadcrumbs, or really went crazy with the cheese. All these little things made this one-dish meal a world of fun for home chefs who were still looking for an easy-to-handle dish that let them try out different ideas. People really did like their cheese, though, and they didn't hold back on the ground beef for this. As far as the public reception went, there was definitely a crowd of people who thought they wanted to keep tomatoes and macaronis out of their casseroles and only in their pastas, but for the most part, people loved it. People that grew up during World War II will know that mixing sawdust with bread to fortify it so that your supply would last twice as long is not quite the urban myth it is made out to be today, but rather a sad fact of a dark time that people would prefer to leave in the past. This was something born purely out of necessity, and a lack of basic necessities like flour. Since it was becoming so scarce across America, people's supplies of bread were running out fast and often. Bread was the only thing families had to eat too. With even that comfort gone, people took to mixing sawdust, which you could even taste in the bread. In some cases, it made the bread go bad faster, such as people when used too much of it. But in most other appliances of this technique, it worked as a filler when nothing else could be used as one. This would also set up a trend of consuming fiber in the 70s, even though most companies used cellulose fiber that was made from sawdust. So it actually does have quite a history in America. Let's talk a little about snacking, shall we? So one very popular munch-heavy snack was biscuits that went along with this gravy made out of sausage drippings, and it actually enhanced the flavor more than you would think. Americans already ate a lot of biscuits before the Depression took place, but afterwards, they became a godsend. We are serious. Finding an extra biscuit was an entirely different experience in that era. Popular brands like the 1930s vintage car or the bourbon biscuit, Huntley and Palmer's, all kinds of biscuits that people could get their hands on were in hot demand since you would never know if dinner or breakfast was guaranteed. Best to bide your time with some biscuits in that case. If they come with a killer dip, then that silver lining shines just a bit brighter. Speedies are also something you would find at gatherings for family or just friends, mostly because no party is complete without a good platter of meat skewers going around a few drinks. So, mostly people would enjoy these most when the meat was lamb, but some areas like California would use chicken or beef too. It was really the grilling where the magic happened. These plates of Speedies set the mood in a party alight. It was a taste that, when they experienced it, people at a party knew that they were in for a really good time. The kind of dish that gets a crowd excited and hungry. There were even Speedafests in Binghamton and all around New York in general. It was a part of the local culture that no big celebration was really complete without. The reason it got popular Wasn't just because of a regional preference in New York, though. The dish was bold, tangy, and citrusy, and it could double as an amazing sandwich too. You would find these in street stalls throughout New York, as well as at homes, but nowadays the dish has faded away into irrelevance. So most oatmeal meatloaf recipes use the oats as a side piece to, like, 2 pounds of lean ground beef, but that was obviously not what people were working with back then. Instead, the loaf was made entirely of layers of oatmeal, with sausages and bacon stuffed into it to give that meaty profile. Some dried onions and garlic meant that there was good enough reason to get the fine plates out, and there was always enough to go around too. Plus, grandmas really ran with the recipe right after the Depression ended and things started going back to normal. They would add things like tomato sauces and never spare the eggs or the flour. Probably why kids would love it so much since they went all out with it. But after going through a patch where this was a luxury, you cannot blame them for wanting to go the extra mile either. Remember how we were just talking about the way people decided to sometimes mess around with their casseroles, switch out the ground beef and put in sausages instead? Yeah, they had a name for that too. It was called hot dog casserole. Like almost every casserole that made its claim to fame during the 1960s, this one had a heaping serving of pasta. Actually, elbow macaroni is something you'd see a lot more often with this one, mixed in between patches of gooey cheddar cheese and diced or cut up sausages. It was actually a pretty economical dish, and that's why it got popular in areas where common ingredients weren't so readily available. Let's talk about personality, though. Do we take this over a hot dog? How do we feel about the casserolification of almost everything? I mean, before I told you this, your idea of a hot dog was probably just the typical street food dog you get in a bun. Then again, maybe this is an idea worth trying. If sausages can work in a hot pot, there's no reason they can't work in a casserole. What do you say? In what form do you think the hot dog shines through more? Bubble and squeak was something that completely fit the situations most people would find themselves in during the war, because this dish is all about the leftovers. Usually, Sunday dinner's leftovers would be used in a bubble and squeak to make sure nothing went to waste. Plus, people would definitely take that sentiment to heart when it came to holiday dinners where there were enough things left to constitute at least 2 or 3 meals the next day. Usually, this dish is made with potatoes and cabbage and is fried, so it goes properly and amazingly with some potato flotties or other items on the list. Maybe you can take a note from people's books the next time you think you have nothing to eat, but plenty of things still left. Egg drop soup sounds a little fancier than it is, but have you never had a simple dish that knocked the socks off of you? Just a 2 or 3 ingredient show that really hit home, ticked every box, and left you with a smile? Egg drop soup was a lot like that. It was just diced potatoes and onions, which might get you thinking of the pie we just went over, but this is more like a broth. If chicken broth was there, then of course that was the foundation, but water worked too. Once the potatoes started cooking, you would drizzle some scrambled eggs before adding whole ones. It might look lumpy and score a little less for presentation, but it deserves a solid A+ just for the taste alone, especially if you would pair it with some leftover bread. Green tomato pie is something that'll have you running back for seconds. First off, you gotta hand it to whoever made this dish for their ingenuity. It's not every day you get a banger of a dish that actually is centered around making the green tomato shine out of everything else, but Southern home cooking will do that for you. Charlotte's green tomato pie in particular makes use of some typical Southern spices like cinnamon and nutmeg and unripened green tomatoes, and has you making a pie that'll rival even the best apple ones you could find at bakeries. Green tomatoes have an especially great harvest during the fall, so that's when this dish would see the most mileage. You would find houses all over the South constantly making green tomato pies, and this specific pie is an example of how you don't need anything fancy to create something that can get everyone at the table. You know what's even funnier? This dish is one of the best things to come out of mock cooking because it was made to imitate mock apple pie and mincemeat pies. An imitation of an imitation ends up giving us something that was a big part of Southern culture. Who would have thought? Speaking of molasses, they also went really great with some slow-baked beans. Molasses have a knack for adding a lot of deep flavor to a dish, And the fact that these were usually left overnight to absorb all of it made for probably the best baked beans people could get in those times. It was especially popular as a summertime meal. Baked beans were not too hard to get, not the tinned versions because those were still pricey. Once you had some, you would just leave them in water to soften, and then the beans would be baked for 8 hours straight overnight. Making it was a whole day, literally. But once you were done with the prep work, it was all just a waiting game. And this was one time where being patient really paid off. Now here's something that started out in the bleakest of times but quickly became a sensation throughout America even after the Great Depression ended. You can't ever beat a fried bologna sandwich. I don't care what uptown neighborhood and what fancy restaurant you've been to. Something about that mix of bologna with cheese, mayo, and sometimes even bacon and sausages is unbeatable. It was something that was incredibly beloved by the public right after the Second World War ended, and the Midwest in particular couldn't really ever get enough of it. Diners, homes, rural areas, local breakfast joints, everyone was serving an affordable fried bologna sandwich. It was something you could rely on to both satisfy your taste buds, get you a healthy dose of protein, and not break your wallet if you had it daily, which was really asking for a lot in those times. Let's not forget all the times a well-made bacon and onion sandwich made the difference between an exhausting, bland day and one with a warm and welcome surprise. Most people would be real cautious with their bacon, as the days of simply frying up a few strips and eating them as is were gone. You had to make each cut of meat count, especially bacon. While it was still attainable on average, its new prices were not doing anybody any favors. So people would dice up some onions, sauté them until they were that perfect golden brown, and make the bread themselves. Sometimes out of stuff like sawdust when dough would not be available, and there you had it. A perfectly vitalizing sandwich ready to put the spirit back into your tired body. Grandmas had this perfected down to a science, as they seemed to have developed a natural intuition for how much bacon, salt, and onions a good sandwich needed. Slumgullion stew is an American dish that became known for how easy it was to prepare. I mean, seriously, you think of stews, and your mind immediately goes to all the hard work and blood and sweat that goes into making a proper one. Especially if you're cooking for a decently sized group. Some of these stews could get real costly too, but not slumgullion, no. This dish was a comfort food recipe that had been twisted, diluted, and transformed in so many ways across the decades, but still always managed to retain what made it work. That's very rare for most recipes, as they often lose their original essence in translation from one era to another. A slumgullion stew typically looks like lots of beef, macaroni, greens like canned tomatoes, corn, and beans. And they would also throw in chili beans and vegetable soups to add to the broth. By the 1960s, suburban living had become the norm, and a family diner was what most people were buying their groceries for. Slumgullion stew was a mouthful to eat and say, so it worked really well. Depression cake and war cake are just a few of the titles this cake has. It proved that even if things were economically bad, people still had a sweet tooth. It was not just a silly craving, but a sign of comfort and a reminder of more normal days. After all, actual cake was way out of the question when people had to live off of $5 a week and feed their entire families along with it. Depression cake, as glum as it sounds, was a very welcome addition to most people's baking roster since it substituted milk with water, baking powder with eggs, and shortening instead of butter. This significantly reduced the cost of making a cake, and it was one of the things that started mock cuisine in America. Are you a big fan of deli food? Deli meats, sandwiches, loaves, that kind of thing? Then one of the best parts of that kind of eating was the olive loaf. It was usually made with pork and beef plus chopped green olives, which is what it became known for. There was a small, brief period before convenience foods started taking over America, where processed meats were really becoming a thing, and this dish was a big part of that time, which arguably spanned all over the 1940s to the 1970s. It had an extremely loyal fan base too, as this was responsible for many deli counters still staying in business. These days, you could find retro stalls that still do a mean olive load, But the days where this was a commonplace item on the street and something you'd see your grandma cooking up are long gone in America's history. People definitely remember the flavors of the bologna, the ham loaves, and all the amazing dips they came with, though. Which forgotten cold dish is your favorite? Comment below, like the video, and subscribe for more tasty throwbacks.